Sorry?
Should I try to share my screen meanwhile so that it saves the time later on?
Yes, of course, you can try it.
Ma'am, shall we start?
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Should I try to share my screen meanwhile so that it saves the time later on?
Yes, of course, you can try it.
Okay.
So I am ready. You can tell me when to start. I am ready.
I think you can start.
Okay. Okay.
Zaira?
Yes. We are live now.
Great. A very good morning to all of you and a very warm welcome to the third day of our workshop, international workshop on digital humanities, theory and praxis. And I especially welcome Professor Saini today, who would be conducting today's session. And Indrani Dasgupta is the moderator. And so she will be introducing him. So over to you, Indrani.
Thank you, Asra. Hello, all. Welcome to the first session of the third day of the Digital Humanities Workshop. For this session, we have Professor Jatinder Kumar Saini. Dr. Saini is Professor and Director, Symbiosis Institute of Computer Studies and Research, Pune, a distinguished and established academician, researcher, and administrator. Professor Saini was awarded PhD in Computer Science in 2009. He is working as co-principal investigator in ISRO Ahmedabad-sponsored research project. He was selected and invited as a guest faculty at BSEL Berlin and is a recipient of DART Fellowship for visiting Germany. Professor Saini's vast experience comprises of working also as head of the department, university coordinator, director of AB Innovation, Sankul and zonal exam coordinator for entire South Gujarat under the state government's Gujarat Technological University, Ahmedabad. He has a distinct opportunity of working with Gujarat State Secretariat, Gandhinagar, for the ambitious e-governance project of Government of Gujarat, as well as the coveted privilege of working in the cybersecurity domain at one of the full license certifying authorities under Ministry of Information Technology, Government of India. Professor Saini is included in the Marquis Who's Who in the World, USA, since 2012. His interviews have been published in various media. He has been invited for delivering numerous keynote lectures, plenary sessions, and invited talks, etc. He has nearly 170 research publications with high Thomson Reuters impact factors. Professor Saini has been named among 1% of computer science reviewers in the world by Thomson Reuters continuously for 2 years from 2018 to 19. He has completed more than 40 international MOOC courses from institutes as varied as Massachusetts Institute of Technology, University of Texas, to name a few. Welcome, sir. Professor Saini's topic for the session today is titled Digital Treatment of Hindi Poetry, Prosody. Over to you, sir.
Thanks all for, first of all, particularly the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this topic called digital treatment of Hindi poetry, prosody. And special thanks to Dr. Indrani for that very nice introduction. I sometimes, feel that my CV as such is not that glorified. In fact, it seems that it is having these many credentials when it is introduced the way you did, Dr. Indrani. So thanks for that very nice introduction. So a very good morning to all the participants, my dear colleagues, friends, students. I will be talking on digital treatment of Hindi poetry, prosody. Because I have to talk about poetry, so I thought that I should start with this saying, उनकी जब मर्जी होती है वो हमसे तब बात करते हैं, हमारा पागलपन तो देखिए, पूरा दिन उनकी मर्जी का हम इंतजार करते हैं. And the poet is not known, so I have written Gumnaam. So basically, I will be touching on two areas. Number one, the digital treatment, which is a technical part, and number two, obviously, the poetry part. So in a way, I will be touching the hearts also, and I will be touching the brains also. So this is brief about me, and in fact, it has already been introduced quite well by Dr. Indrani, so I am just skipping this slide. So before I formally begin with my discussion, there is a small disclaimer. So whatever I will be discussing, it will be purely from academic and research perspective only, because I may be touching on some controversial matters, the philosophy of languages, the politics of languages. And so if at all there is any resemblance to any person living dead, so it is completely coincidental, and the sole motive of this discussion is academic and research only. And in fact, I will be discussing about a few points which even the details are not available on portals like Wikipedia or even any website for that matter, if searched on Google, because a few points have been included based on my experience of last 15-20 years in this area of natural language processing. So I begin my discussion with the parlance. Parlance means the language of this specific domain, of this specific field. So first of all, there is a concept of language families. Language families, we have like Germanic language family, we have Indo-European language family, we have Italic language family, and we have many more language families as well. And out of all of these language families, I will be focusing on the Indo-European language family. And in the Indo-European language family also, I will be focusing on Indo-Iranian language family, which happens to be sort of a child of the Indo-European language family. And in Indo-Iranian language family, there are three children, so to say. Nuristani languages, and then we have Iranian languages, and then we have the Indo-Aryan languages. Nuristani languages are mostly the languages which are spoken in small pockets of Afghanistan and the neighboring areas, and then we have Iranian languages which include Sorani, Kurdish, and others. And then we have Indo-Aryan languages which are also called Indic languages. So as such, most of the Indian languages are included in this branch of the Indo-Iranian language family, including Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, Punjabi, and others. Specifically talking about the Dravidian languages, because many times it is believed that when we talk about the Indian languages, the South Indian languages, I mean Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam, and all of these languages, they are also included in this branch. But it is not so. Earlier, they used to be included as part of the Indic languages, but technically, it is a full-fledged branch in itself. So in addition to Indo-European languages, we have another language family, which is called the Dravidian language family. So this was just a brief about the language families. So I will be talking about Indo-European language families, and inside that I will be talking about Indo-Iranian. Inside Indo-Iranian, I will be talking about Indo-Aryan, and inside Indo-Aryan, I will be talking about Hindi. So Hindi happens to be the fourth most spoken language in world. It happens to be the one of the official languages in India, because for India, we do not have any language that can be called a national language, but we have two official languages on the national, as far as the national area is concerned. So we have Hindi as well as English. And worldwide, as I said, that it is the fourth most spoken language. And if Hindi is considered in its Hindustani version, where Urdu is also included, the type of language which is spoken in Pakistan, which is spoken in India, and which is spoken almost in the entire North Indian belt. So that way, Hindustani language becomes the third most spoken language in world. And obviously, the top three then are English, and then we have Mandarin, and then we have Spanish. So that's a bit about the Hindi language. And when we talk about Hindi language, we can talk from two perspectives. Number one, whether we are talking about prose or whether we are talking about poetry. So that is one perspective. And the other perspective is whether we are talking about the text part of that language or whether we are talking about the speech part of that language. So as far as prose, so when I say prose, I mean stories. And when I say poem, I mean poetry. So it could be in any form. And I will be focusing on poem. I will not be focusing on the stories part. That is part one. And part two, as far as the demarcation from point of view of text and speech is concerned, I am not focusing on speech. I will be focusing on text only. And when I say that I will be focusing on text, further we have two divisions, because text could be in the sort of written form, or it could be otherwise also. For instance, we have many languages which do not have their own script, but when it comes to Hindi language, it has its script called Devanagari. In fact, Hindi is not the only language which is scripted using Devanagari. We have many other languages. For instance, we have Marathi also, and we have Rajasthani also, which are scripted using Devanagari. And then we have other scripts also. For example, for Gujarati, we have a dedicated script called Gujarati, and so on and so forth. So I am not going in detail, but I am just giving a brief overview of all of these terms, because I might be using all of these terms. Otherwise, if you ask me to speak about natural language processing and for all of these languages, because I have worked for all of these languages, be it Hindi, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Gujarati, and now Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, and in fact, there are many candidates who have completed their PhDs under my guidance in these areas. So I can speak for centuries and centuries. But this is just to set the context that these are the terms. So before we actually start discussing, we need to know that okay, there is something called language family, and then we have the concept of prose, we have the concept of poetry, we have the concept of text, and then we have the concept of speech as well. Okay, and then we have the concept of prosody, which basically means the study and use of meters. So what do we mean by meters? I will be discussing in the one of the next slides also. But basically, prosody means the study and use of the meters, sort of measurements for the versification of the written text, and could be even for the spoken text also. So basically, it is the prosody that gives a poem the title of poem, because otherwise, if you are writing 5, 10 odd sentences, it will simply be part of a story. It will simply be prose. But something that gives it a poetic touch is prosody. And then we have something called metadata. Metadata technically means data about data. So for instance, if we have a poem, then its title would be treated as metadata. The year in which it was written, the number of lines it has, and the style of writing, the number of meters. So basically, all of these pieces of information add to what is already given in the form of a poem. So data about data is metadata. It may also include orthographic information like the number of lines in the poem, the number of words in the poem, the number of exclamation marks, the number of question marks, and so on. So that is metadata. See, as far as the development of languages processing is concerned, I am not talking about the development of languages. I am talking about the processing of the languages. So earlier we used to have the linguistic departments. For instance, I think your particular department which is hosting this workshop is also a linguistics department. If I am not wrong, it is the Department of English. So earlier we used to have the Department of Linguistics, which used to study the languages and its usage. And then with the advancement of technology came the concept of processing of languages or treating the languages digitally. So that is where I come from to fit in the broad theme of this workshop. So because when you have to process a language, and if you have a large corpus, so what I mean when I say corpus means it is the collection of data, particularly collection of text data. And if you have to process it, if you have to process that big collection of natural language data, then you need the help of computers, because the capacities of human beings are limited. So that is where the concept of computational linguistics came into picture. And if we have to analyze it from the digital perspective, there were two things. Number one, the development of artificial intelligence, and number two, the development of one area for processing of natural languages. And that area is called NLP, for natural language processing. So virtually speaking, both of these areas have developed parallelly, be it the area of artificial intelligence and be it the area of NLP. And earlier, there was one concept of a rationalist approach. In fact, earlier it was empiricist approach, and then came the rationalist approach, particularly in this period of mid 50s, when a famous linguist from America, his name was Noam Chomsky, he said that the structure of language is innate in the brain of a child. So when a newborn child is there, he or she has some information about the languages, and it is not possible that during his or her development years only he or she acquires the vocabulary. But some structure is implicit, it is hard coded in the brain. So that was the rationalist concept. And based on the rationalist philosophy itself, there was one concept of processing of natural languages, which was called symbolic NLP. So, and this is how the field of NLP has also developed. Why this is important to discuss on this platform, because that also gives us the impression how the languages have been processed and how the digital treatment, how the digital processing of languages have developed over this period, particularly of the last century. So then came the symbolic approach, which believed basically in the rationalist approach. And so it said that everything is like entities, and then you can have relationship among those entities. For example, I may say that, for example, this is a pen and this is my hand. So these are two entities, and then I can have a relationship, holds. So hand holds pen. Or I am a speaker, this is the laptop, I can have a relationship like I am being viewed through this desktop. So you have the concept of entities, and then you have the concept of relations. Now these relations could be adjectives or they could be verbs. So this was all about the symbolic approach. This was followed by two things. Number one, as we moved from 50s to 80s, I mean from 1950s to 1980s, there was a lot of development as far as the processing power of computers is concerned. Storage power increased, processing power increased, and so basically people started to use the statistical techniques. So instead of the hard-coded rules, hard-coded rules were like this: if this, then do this; else do this; else if this, then do this. So those hard-coded rules basically inherited from the rationalist approach. And from the 80s, people started to use empiricist approach. So empiricist approach said that newborn children, for example, this is philosophical concept. They do not have those implicit structures, and they do not have those innate information pieces, and the rules of the language are not hard-coded in their mind at the time of birth. I mean, if you take a child who is born in a family, let us say, whose mother tongue is Hindi, and if that child is brought up in an environment which speaks German, for example, then that child will be speaking German as fluently as any other person for whom German is a native language. So in the 80s, the dominance of Chomskyan concepts started to reduce. On one side, see, all of these things happened parallelly. So it is a good coincidence. And that is how the digital treatment of languages have evolved. So number one, the dominance of Chomskyan philosophy started to decrease. Number two, there was an increase in the processing power of the computers. Number three, their cost started to decrease. And number four, people started to use the statistical techniques. So instead of hard-coded rules, now people used to say that, okay, let us have some data, and that data is fed to a computer, and then the computer analyzes that data using some statistical techniques in the background, and then it finds out with the patterns. Instead of we hard-coding those patterns in advance, now the computer comes out with the patterns. So that approach was non-symbolic approach, and that happened in the 80s. And with the further advancements in the technologies, I mean, when you move from 80s to the first decade of the 21st century, then you had this internet revolution, and a lot of data was available. Processing power had increased like anything. So as of now, you can say that from symbolic to non-symbolic, and from non-symbolic also you can have two branches. One was symbolic, which was used in the 80s. And now the people came out with deep learning techniques. So deep learning techniques means you can use advanced artificial intelligence techniques. So obviously, I'm not going into details, but you can use recurrent neural networks, you can use artificial neural networks and whatnot. So that was like in this period of first decade of 21st century. And honestly speaking, if you ask me what is happening today, today is 14th of December, 2020. I will say that obviously it is not symbolic, and obviously it is not non-symbolic either in the form of pure statistical techniques, nor even in the form of pure deep learning techniques. So now people have started to think that let us bring the best of both of these worlds. was because what happened for the symbolic approaches was like because the rules were hard coded. So whosoever had hard coded that rules actually knew that what is done. So if I am giving this input, I know that this will be my output because I have a hard coded that rule. So I know that inside my computer I have some computer program, and this will be the branch that will be followed by this input. So given some input, I knew that what will be the output. So that approach was completely transparent. And for the statistical approaches, because actually the statistical techniques were used, so it was not known if I am giving some input, which algorithm is going to be used and which patterns will be found and how those patterns will be found. This was not known. And this became more so when we came to the concept of deep learning, where we are just feeding a lot of data to a computer, and then the computer itself analyzes that data, processes that data, and comes out with some patterns. And we don't know how it has come with those patterns. Those patterns may be correct, may not be correct, and so on and so forth. So now, as on date, the people have started to think that let us bring the best of both of these worlds. One is completely transparent approach, the other one is like a black box approach. So now people are talking about neurosymbolic approaches. So you have some hard-coded rules, and you have some rules and some patterns which are found by computers itself. So it is like bringing the best of both of these worlds, and now people are working on neurosymbolic approaches. And when I say so, these concepts are applicable to digital treatment of languages in all forms, be it machine translation, be it summarization, be it abstraction, be it extraction, be it information retrieval, be it named entity recognition, be it clustering, be it classification, you just name it. So these are all the concepts that are being used. So coming back to the original point of our discussion, the last point that I had shown on this slide was computational linguistics. So what I was trying to emphasize was the fact that earlier we used to have the Department of Linguistics, and earlier means, I mean, they are still there, but I am talking just from the perspective of computers. I am just talking from the perspective of digital treatment of the languages. So from linguistics came a special branch called computational linguistics. And I will see if someone asks me, because this was one of the questions where I was talking I think it was in Germany, when one of the participants asked me that can you say that computational linguistics is a branch of linguistics or linguistics is a branch of computational linguistics? So I will say that computational linguistics is a branch of linguistics because languages used to exist earlier. Computers came later on. So CL, you can say that is a branch of computational linguistics. And the typical characteristics of computational linguistics is the fact that it used to follow the rationalist approach, it used to follow the symbolic approach, it used to follow the hard-coded rules approach. So you have some rules, and based on those rules, you are expecting a computer to give some output. So basically, it is more of automation. It is just simulating the intelligence. It is not understanding. It is not understanding. So the computer is just simulating. And as far as the concept of artificial intelligence is concerned, we expect the computer not just to simulate what human beings do, but actually do what human beings do. And that is possible only if computers understand. So that was all about computational linguistics. And from computational linguistics came the concept of natural language processing. And it is called NLP. So when I say natural language, what I mean to say is that I am not talking about artificial languages. I am not talking about programming languages. I am not talking about the languages that are used to communicate with computers. What is language? Language is something that can be used for communication. So even if I am holding my hands like this, so this gesture is enough to convey that I am greeting you. So if I am able to communicate this, then this is a natural language. And you should not be surprised if I say that sign language is also a natural language. I mean, why should we say that it is not a natural language? So as far as natural languages are concerned, we have sign language, and we have all of those languages in all of those language families that I was talking about. The Indo-European language family, the Indo-Iranian language family, and then the Indic languages, and Hindi is one of them that I am talking about today. And if I have to give the example of artificial languages, I will say it is like C, C++, Python, R, so Java. So all of those languages that I am using to communicate with the computer. That is why they are languages. But they are artificial languages because they have been created by human beings to communicate with the computer, not to have human-to-human interaction. So, and the processing of the natural languages is called natural language processing, or NLP. And NLP is chiefly responsible for the digital treatment of languages, including the digitalization, because this goes very much in line with the theme of this workshop, because even there are many government initiatives also that talk about digitalization, and many of my PhD candidates have also worked in this area, where the texts from the Indian languages have been helped, to get them digitalized. And when it comes to Indian languages specifically, unfortunately, not much work has been done. And at least compared to the foreign languages, I mean, if you consider Spanish, if you consider English, if you consider Chinese, if you consider Arabic, a lot of work has been done. But when it comes to Indian languages, and okay, on the sidelines, let me also share that India happens to be one of those one of those 8 regions in the country which have maximum endangered languages. So, and then, so first a language becomes endangered, and then it goes to the state of a dead language, and then it becomes extinct. So what is the difference between extinct language and dead language? Dead language is the one which do not have any native speaker, and extinct language is the one which does not have any speaker at all. So for example, Latin is like a dead language. Even Sanskrit is believed to be dead language, because though this is a bit controversial, but then there are claims which say that we do not have any people who can claim that this is native language. So if we go by the definition of dead language, then this sentence is correct. Okay, so this was all about the concept of NLP. Now I come to the actual NLP in detail. So I am just trying to create the flow. I first talked about language families, and then one of those languages, and then the terms that I will be using: linguistics, computational linguistics, natural language processing, and now I am going in detail as far as NLP is concerned. And NLP further has 2 branches. Number one, kingdom, they see these 3. Okay, so number one is natural language generation, and natural language generation basically deals with the generation of natural language. So that means using the artificial intelligence techniques, you are making the computer to generate a language. And now I will focus on 2 areas as far as energy is concerned. One, from the point of view of, let us say, stories. So if I have to generate a story, then actually it is difficult, because for a story which is generated artificially, we will expect that there is a sequence, there is a flow, there is an internal structure which is interwoven. So from a point of view of NLP, the generation of stories is a bit difficult task, because then the reader will immediately come to know. This recalls me, in fact, of the famous imitation game experiment by Alan Turing. So the reader will immediately come to know that, okay, this is artificially generated story. But at the same time, let me also tell you that there are very established algorithms which are available, and they are able to generate fake news, unfortunately, but this is the fact. Fake news and fake articles as well. So this is possible, but it is a bit difficult, because then you have to make sure that if there is a paragraph, let us say, of 10 sentences, then these 10 sentences have that structure, and a flow is provided. But when it comes to poem generation, then it is comparatively easy, because anything that you generate through a computer, it will look like a poem. Because okay, what I will do is in the next slide I will give you a few examples, so you will immediately come to know, okay, that this is a good poem. But actually, let me tell you, all of those examples are the poems which are natural language generated. They are artificially generated poems. They are not authored by a poet. But in the other sense, you can also say that whosoever has coded that program, NLP scientist, NLP expert, computational linguistics expert, virtually that person becomes the poet, or actually it is the computer that is the poet in those cases. So I will be showing a few of those examples in the coming slides. For the time being, let me continue with this discussion. As far as natural language processing is concerned, I said that there are 2 branches. So one is natural language generation, and the other one is natural language understanding. So here we are not generating artificial language. Artificial language in the sense, here we are not generating the natural language artificially. But here what we are doing is, we have some natural language and we are trying to understand it. And believe me, most of the work in the area of NLP has focused in this subdomain, natural language understanding. In fact, the details that I will be also talking about in the coming slides, basically they focus on natural language understanding. So, from point of view of stories and poems, again, let us have a look, understanding of the language. So, as far as understanding is concerned, for stories, it is easy, right? Because stories have that typical structure. So, if someone has authored a story, then there is a flow, and they, and in fact, then there are n number of other things. Then you have part of speech also. So you know that if it is English, then it is like I ate an apple. So subject, verb, and then you have object. But when it comes to Hindi, so मैंने फल खाया. So it is subject, object, and then verb. And for almost one third of the languages in world, this order of SOV is followed, as is followed with the Hindi. And not just Hindi, even if you can consider the example of Marathi, मैं नी फल खादा, मैं सेब खाया, Punjabi, Gujarati, मैं सफरजन खादू, Gujarati. So for all of these languages, this is the order which is followed. And for almost half of the languages of the world, and when I say so, I am considering approximately 8,000 languages worldwide. And obviously, this figure is a bit debatable. But approximately 8,000 languages, then half of the languages follow the order which is followed by English. And then you have the other languages which follow the other orders. And in fact, if you see this technically, you have, see, combinations like, if I say I ate an apple, I will say, is it visible what I am writing on the screen? S. Can anyone
Yes, it
confirm?
is.
Okay, it is visible. So if I say I ate an apple, I will write it this way. I is subject, ate is verb, and apple is object. So SVO. So in Hindi, I said that मैंने फल खाया. मैंने फल is object and khaya is verb. Khana is verb. So now we have combinations like S, S, and then you have O, B, V, O, then you have V, followed by SO and OS, and then you have OO, SV, and VS. So basically, because there are three things, S, V, and O. So 3 factorial equal to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 combinations are there. And we have languages in the world which use all of these combinations. Obviously, as I said that for SVO and SOV, most of the languages of the world are covered. But for the remaining combinations also, we have rare, but we do have some examples which are using these type of structures. So while I was talking about, this is called word order in natural language processing. This is important because for understanding, if you know that the given text is from this language, and once the language is known, then you immediately come to know, okay, that for this language, this is the structure. Sorry, this is the word order, which is followed by the structure of this language. And then you can interpret it. Then you can interpret the sentences. And then obviously you can use the concept of part of speech tagging also. It is called POST, post. And post is important because then you come to know that for a given sentence, this is subject, this is object, this is verb, or this is adjective, and this is noun, this is pronoun. You have the concept of named entity recognition, it is called NER. And in fact, then you have the concept of lexical semantics and whatnot. But comparatively, it is easy. In fact, when I say that it is easy, I will not say that it is absolutely 100% possible, because then you have the ambiguities also. For example, if I say that this is in fact quite a famous example, I saw a man with binoculars. I saw a man with binoculars. Now, who was having binoculars? Did I use the binoculars to see a man, or did I see a man? Then the man was having the binoculars. So, and then you have the, from NLP perspective, you have issues with pragmatics. For instance, if some pedestrian who is standing on a roadside shouts, taxi, taxi, then the taxi driver immediately comes to know that, okay, this person is willing to hire the taxi. From the point of view of human beings, because human beings can understand, okay, that if someone is shouting taxi, taxi, then this is the context. So pragmatics deal with context. But if this data is fed to a computer, then the computer may reply something like this: okay, taxi is a non-living thing, so you cannot call a taxi. It is not possible. And just imagine the computer then replying in turn: okay, you are calling me taxi, taxi, you pedestrian, pedestrian. So that is the problem from NLP perspective. And then we have the concept of discourse analysis also. So it basically deals with the relationship and the structure of all the sentences in a given sequence. I am recalled of one very famous example. There was one person who was sort of traveler who was just signing out of a hotel and had to catch a flight, was in hurry, and then he just came to know that he has forgotten his shoes in his room. So he called the room boy and said that, will you immediately go to my room and see if my shoes are there? I will just repeat my statement. Will you immediately go to my room and see if my shoes are there? And the room boy immediately rushed to that room because he knew that he was in hurry. So he immediately went to that room and then came back and said, yes, your shoes are there. Now, if you see this from point of view of discourse, it was not the intention of the traveler. What he intended was that you please go to my room and bring those shoes. But the room boy took it literally. See if my shoes are there, and he said, yes, your shoes are there. So this is the problem when it comes to the processing of languages digitally. And many times we say that, okay, if you want to do this activity, go to room number, let us say 005, and see this person, XYZ person. And just imagine the student or the person comes back to you and says, okay, I went there and I saw that person is there. Obviously, that is not our intention. So this all goes with the discourse. So these are the challenges. But in spite of those challenges, from NLP perspective, when it comes to NLU, the understanding of stories is easy. But when it comes to poem, it is actually difficult, because you do not know what the poet wants to say. A poet has to take care of rhythm, a poet has to take care of meters, a poet has to take care of n number of factors, emotions, thoughts, whatnot. So, and in fact, when a poet is using some word, then it may not be the actual sense. So then you have the concept of figures of speech. So it makes the understanding of poems difficult because you have to basically find what is the actual intention of the poet, not just the literal meaning of the word which is used, because it might be used just to make sure that it is rhyming properly, or just to make sure that it is making some use of figure of speech. Could be onomatopoeia, could be synecdoche, could be metaphor, could be simile, could be anything. So it makes the understanding of poems by the computers a bit difficult, and this understanding can again be done in multiple ways. You can try to understand the structure of the poem, or I will put it this way, you can try to understand a poem using its structure. You can try to understand a poem using the theme it talks about, the broad area, the topic it talks about. You can understand a poem based on the emotions it is dealing with. So, and then you have many other possible categories also. A few research works like have been done. Given a poem, the computer will tell you that which was the period, which was the duration in which this poem was written. And the other possibilities like given a poem, so basically that makes use of stylometric analysis, obviously including the orthographic features as well. So basically it will tell you that who was the poet. So it is like author attribution. And this is many times done with the poems of Shakespeare. It is a bit controversial area, but then we have one school of thought which says that, okay, this is the set of poems which was not written by Shakespeare himself. And in fact, he got it written from someone else. So it is debatable, but author attribution can be used. And then you have those uses of typical words, for example, thee, Thee, thou, Thou, and thy, Thy. So based on those words also, you can come to know, okay, that this was the period, whether it is using modern English or whether it is using the English of the medieval ages and so on. In fact, let me confess, uh, I am not a person from the area of linguistics. You all of you are expert in this area, but I am just looking at this from the point of view of NLP researcher. Okay, so the point is that from natural language understanding point of view, working with poems is difficult, but I have tried to do so, but using the prosodic structure. So I talked about the structure, I talked about the semantics. Semantics basically means the meaning. So it can deal with the context of the poem, it can deal with the theme of the poem, the topic of the poem also. In fact, in my tomorrow's talk, I will be talking about the semantics, the themes, and the emotions. So that I will be talking about tomorrow. So for the time being, I will be continuing with the natural language understanding and poem and then the structure. So this is one example of auto-generated poetry. This is an example of an auto-generated poetry. So if you just, I have also included the source of this poem. And this poem was in fact generated using recurrent neural network, RNN, which is one of the artificial intelligence deep learning techniques. So now if you just read through these sentences, in their little room with the door ajar and the candle hanging on the wall ajar, I have come across the word rice. So it will not be easy for anyone to identify whether this poem has been actually generated by a computer or whether it is actually authored by some poet, or actually is it written by a person or not a human being. Just to confirm, am I audible? Are all of you with me? Can anyone confirm, please?
Yes, yes, we
Yes,
are.
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for that confirmation. So this is one example of a poem which is auto-generated. And this is an example of English poem. And I thought that no one should get that impression that this is possible only for the English language. So I have included a few examples of other languages also. But this is an other example of English itself. And the cloud of the tempest blew, his soul was with the world at play. He looked to the stars and the stars smiled and the moon in the heaven looked. So if you actually go through this poem, no one will come to know that this is not written by a human being. So obviously I am not reading this entire poem, but this is one example and I have included the source here also. And this is another poem which is written in Russian language. So unless any one of you knows Russian, you will not be able to appreciate the, the typical element of beauty of the poem. But just to emphasize that this is possible for Russian also. And I thought that I should also include an example of Indian languages because I am discussing this concept in India. So this is one example. This is Bengali, to the best of my knowledge. And then guess what? This is Hindi. Now, if you just go through it, मुंह फेंकर चुनवानी मैंने मिली थी जल सकूं गुजरता है गुट दिखावा की रोप लेकर सफेद करता हूं. So as such, it does not seem to make that much sense. I agree. But then, unless anyone knows that the poems can be generated through computers, no one will come to know that, okay, this poem is not written by a human being. And this is the reason why it is not making much sense. So this is one example. This is another example. मौसम में मेरे पास फरों के बिना पड़े में एक बस विदा है मुझे जलाई गई खुद के चटके धवले फरों के बीच. So actually, this is not making that sense. So I was, searching for more auto-generated poems in Hindi, and this is what I found. And this was really good. इश्क करने का शौक नहीं है बस इतना समझ लो देखिए किस कदर रोया है कोई कहता है प्यार सजा बन जाता है. Now it is really difficult for anyone to identify that this is auto-generated poetry. Obviously, then you have to give your machine a lot of data of Hindi poetry. Then only it is possible for the machine to generate this type of poetry. But this is really good. I mean, just look at this. No one will come to know that this is not human generated. And for a person like me, who has written a lot of poetry in Hindi, English, and other languages, I know what it takes to write a poetry. But see, this is auto-generated, and this is another example. इश्क करने का हक है तुम्हें पर नाराजगी में कहीं ये मत भूल जाना कि देखिए किस कदर करोगे. Now, see, at some point of time, you will feel, perhaps you will feel that it is not making much sense. But that is only possible because I have already told you that this is poetry which is generated by a machine. Had I told you that this is the poetry written by me, for example, then no one would have even guessed that this could be computer generated. So these are a few examples of poetries which are generated by machines. And let me tell you that all of these poetries were generated by machines after the machines were given data. So that is what I call corpus. So for instance, if you give your machine a lot of let me put it in simple words. Let us say if you give your algorithm a lot of examples of poems, let us say written by William Shakespeare, then the poem which will be generated by the machine will be as good as if it is generated by William Shakespeare himself. Because basically that is the training data, because that is the data from which the machine has trained itself. So that is where the empiricist approach that I was talking about in the beginning of this discussion comes into picture. Uh, See, empiricist approach basically deals with the experiences. So you experience something, and based on that experience, you learn something, and based on your learning, then you do the things. So when you give your machine a lot of data, it is learning through that data, it is experiencing that data, and based on the experience that the machine gains. So that experience is nothing but in the form of patterns. So it is just jumbling those words, and then it is up to you. You can tweak it, you can fine tune the algorithm, you can add your own words, you can add your words randomly, you can use WordNet. So WordNet has that concept of synsets where it has the synonyms. And obviously, I'm not for the time being, at least in this discussion, talking about homonyms and hypernyms and others. But then you can use the synonyms. So it will replace the actual words. But at the same time, it will make sure that it is giving that poetic effect. And in fact, in a way, indirectly or virtually, it may also lead to the creation of artificially created figures of speech in a poem. So just imagine the potential. And before I move on to the next topic in my discussion, let me also tell you then from NLP perspective, you also have some issues like the poems which are written in multiple languages. For instance, okay, we can take example of one poem written by Javed Akhtar ji. No desvis la mirada ke date sarkade mi tum yu nazar na fero. So basically, I think I am not in habit of watching many movies, but I think it is from Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. And so basically, it is making use of Spanish as well as Hindi. So two languages. Now, if you have to feed this poem as input to your computer, then first, your computer needs to know what is the language. So it becomes a challenge from NLP perspective. Because as I was talking about the word order, the word order for Spanish may be different from the word order of Hindi. And then there is some use of Italian, Do lafzon ki hai dil ki kahani. So you know that famous gondola song. So there is Italian in the beginning in that song. And then if I have to take another example, you can think of the famous Chaiya Chaiya song. Chal ishki chhaon chal chaiya chaiya. Now that song is making a very, very rich and excellent use of the words borrowed from, let us say, Urdu language. For example, Firdaus, Ayat, Gulposh. So, Ishq itself, Jannat. So, all of these words are used in that Hindi song, actually. So, from computational perspective, it becomes a bit difficult. But as far as Urdu and Hindi are concerned, there are many words which are borrowed from this language to that language. Even from Arabic and Persian also, you can think of Almira, you can think of the word Khun itself. Otherwise, if you go by, the Hindi language, then you will have to say, if there is an injury, you will have to say, Rakt nikal raha hai. But rarely do we say so. So there is a lot of words which are borrowed from the other languages. And then there are many words which have come up recently. So for instance, there was no word like Facebook earlier. And then there was one movie by Kajol. I don't remember. As I said, I am not in habit of watching much movies. But from that movie, the concept of helicopter parenting has come into picture. So helicopter parenting means where the parents are, over obsessed with their children, and then they keep on watching their children. They always keep a watch 24/7. So helicopter parenting, new term has come up. And see, a language always evolves. I mean, the only thing which is constant for a language is its evolution. It always keeps on evolving. And this evolution is as you might have also seen and heard, in fact, that a few kilometers language changes. Not only just a few kilometers, for example, my mother tongue is Punjabi. And my father hails from a different region in Punjab, and my mother hails from a different region, and my wife hails from a different region. So all of these three people do speak Punjabi. But I know, because I am a bit conscious about it, because I am a person of natural language processing. So I know that the versions of Punjabi that they are speaking are completely different. In fact, my wife speaks the dialect, it is called dialect of Punjabi, which is Seraiki, which is Multani, which is spoken in some parts of Punjab and many other areas also, and mostly in Pakistan. So it is completely different version. And then in fact there are many words which someone who is not acquainted with that language vocabulary might not come to know about it. And then there are typical words. So immediately, as if as soon as one immediately makes use of that word, you will immediately come to know, okay, that this person hails from, let us say, Amritsar, or this person is from Saharanpur, or this is from Manpuri, this is from Lucknow, and so on. So the words as well as its accent. So when I say words, I am talking about the text part. If you remember, I was talking about the text and speech part in the beginning of my discussion. And when it comes to accent, because see, you will not find the difference in accent when it comes to the written part. But when it comes to spoken part, you will immediately come to know, okay, that this person hails from this region. And even I have stayed in Gujarat for many number of years, in fact, many decades, in addition to Delhi, this Chandigarh, and so on. So immediately you will come to know, okay, that this person is from the Saurashtra region, this person is from Surat, this person is from Baroda, and so on and so forth. And even now I am in Pune, as soon as you hear, you will immediately come to know, okay, that this person is from Marathwada region, this person is from Konkan region, and so on. Okay, so that was just from NLP perspective on the sidelines. Coming back to our original discussion, so this is one example of auto-generated poetry in Hindi. Moving further, we come to the actual concept of prosody. So as I said earlier, that prosody is the study and actual use of meters for the versification. Versification is, for example, to create verses. But at the same time, I believe that it is the prosody. It is the typical use and it is the typical structure of meters which are used by the poets, which actually create a poem. Otherwise, it will be a simple poem only. Not even poem, it will be a very simple written text only in the form of a short story, for example. You need to have those poetic elements. And again, let me also tell you that it is not so that if someone is not making a conscious effort to make use of prosody, then it will not generate a poem. It is not so. Particularly for the poets of this generation, who are mostly writing free form poetry. And this is true for English language, this is true for Hindi language, this is true for almost all of the languages. So they are free. I mean, they are free form. So free form means they do not have that specific rules. In Hindi, it is called Mukt Chand. And it is easy to write. So we talked about what and why of prosody. And okay, the concept of prosody is not something, again, which is just applicable to English or Hindi language. It is applicable to Greek language, Latin, Arabic, Chinese, French, Spanish, and almost all the languages. Hindi, Urdu, almost all the languages. In English, prosody is better known as meter. And then you have, variation of meter, RE and ER, based on whether you are using American English or British English. But at the end of the day, it is meter only, which is a term used for prosody in English. And in Urdu and Farsi, you have Rukn, and then for plural, you have Arakan. And very beautiful area, very lovely area. But for the time being, as on today, I will be focusing on Hindi only, not English, not Urdu or Farsi. And then Hindi, we have the concept of Chand. So in fact, if we see this from point of view of Hindi language poetry, we have the three main concepts. And obviously this list is not exhaustive, but just to make this discussion more comprehensive. We have the concept of alankar, which are called figures of speech in English, and then we have the concept of chand, which are called meters in English, and then we have the concept of rasa. For example, we can think of the concept of navrasa, hasya ras, raudra ras, bhayanak, adbhut, shingar ras, karuna ras, and so on and so forth. So we have those 9 rasas. So basically in English, we have the concept of emotions, we have the concept of sentiments, and it also leads to one of the areas in natural language processing, which is called sentiment analysis, emotion detection in poems. So for the time being, I am focusing on chand. Okay, not the alankar, not the samas, or not the ras, and so on. So when it comes to chand, it itself has multiple elements. For example, gati, yati, then you have tuk, and then you have charan. So for example, if you have uh, two lines of a poem, and one fourth of one of those lines is called charan. It is also called pad. So it is one fourth of two lines of a poem. So if you have one line of a poem, half of that is a charan. And then you have the concept of vern, and then you have the concept of matra, the quantity. And then you also have the concept of diacritics, which are used for writing a chant. So I will be talking about a few of these things in the coming slides. Okay. So as I said that for Hindi chand, we have gati, yati, varn, matra, tuk, and so on. One of them is gan, and there are 8 ganas. So basically, this is nothing but meters for Hindi language, and we have these 8 ganas: yagan, magan, tagan, ragan, jagan, bhagan, nagan, sagan. And then you have this sequence just to make sure for those who are working in this area, they are able to remember. Ya, mata, raja, bha, na, sa. And you might be wondering why it is ya and this is ja, and why this is ma, ta, ra, bha. The reason is, if you have a look at its symbol, it looks like ISS, but actually it is, in fact, there are n number of names. I will be discussing about it also. But this is Poonviram and this is Avigrah. So this is counted as 1, this is counted as 2, this is counted as 2. So this will be like 1, 2, 2. This will be 2, 2, 2. This will be 2, 2, 1. And then for Ragan, you will have 2, 1, 2. For Jagan, you will have 1, 2, 1, and so on. So when it comes to this part, as I said that it is counted as 2. So this is treated as double R. So for example, we have the concept of, in diacritics, we have the concept of choti e, badi e, chota u, bada u, and so on. And then we have a word like, let us say, r. Sorry, let us say r. I am not able to write it exactly, but let us say this is r. So this is not having any diacritic, and now it becomes ra. So it has a diacritic. So if you consider this simple ra, it will have count as 1. If you consider it as ra, you will have count it as 2, and so on. And you also have the Greek equivalents. So I have included this part just to emphasize that this concept is not something which is available in Hindi only. It is available in Greek also, and in fact, it is available in many other languages, as I was explaining in the previous slide, including English. So, in fact, many of the terms which are used in this concept and in this context for English, they are inherited from Greek. So, yagan in Greek will be called, whichever way you want to pronounce it, Bacchius, and then magan will be called Molossus, and so on. And the tagan will be called Antibacchus. Why? Because if you see here, this is 1, 2, 2, and this is 2, 2, 1. So the word remains same, and then it is prefixed with anti. Okay. So for Hindi, I have taken just one example, and obviously this list is not exhaustive, though I have tried to make it so. So for example, in Hindi, we have one gan called yagan. Its English equivalent is Bacchus. Representation is ISS in English. If we are using letters from the English alphabet, and marks, actual marks are like this. Its symbols are U dash dash, and it is also written like this, which is sort of U only. In fact, that is why this type of symbol is also used, dash dash. And then its style is da, dum, which I'm not going in detail. And then from binary perspective, you have its equivalent as 1, 0, 0. And as such, this is believed to be like sort of standard, but then someone may say that, okay, I will take it as 0, 1, 1 also. That is also possible. From calculation perspective, the standard is like 1, 2, 2. As I said that this will be treated as 1 and this will be treated as 2. So this is about the ganas. And I have made use of these ganas for understanding of poetry to generate metadata. from computational linguistic point of view. In fact, this work was done with one of my research candidates. Moving further, so I have written Chandon ka Vargikaran because this is digital treatment of Hindi poetry as far as the title of this presentation is concerned. But from English perspective, it will be classification of meters for Hindi. So we have Matrik Chand. In fact, we have 3 of them. And the examples of Matrik Chand are Ahir, Tomar, Manav, Aril, Chopai, Sumeru, Radhika, Rula, Harigitika, and many, many more also. I really wonder ever before if you have heard of Chopai, if you have heard of Rola, if you have heard of Sotha, if you have heard of Doha. So they are Matrik Chands basically, and Harigitika Chand is there. Then at least next time when you will hear of these terms, if these things were not known to you earlier, then you should be conscious enough to think it this way. And then you have the concept of Varnik Chand. And the examples are Shalini, Indravajra, Dudha, Conscious, Prasant Tilka, Malini, Chanchana, Manda Kranta, Savaya, Kavit, and so on. There are many, many more also. There are hundreds of them, in fact, not just tens or dozens. So basically, Matrik Chand takes into consideration the matra, the quantity of the counts. I will be giving you the examples in the coming slides. So basically, it takes care of those ones and twos and then their summation. And then you have Varnik Chand, which have the patterns. For example, 1, 2, 2 or 2, 2, 1. So either it will be Yagan or it will be Jagan or it will be Ragan. And then based on whether it is having 2 Yagans and 1 Ragan, for example, it will be called Vanshas, otherwise it will be called Indravajra, and so on. So I will be discussing these examples in the next slides. But as I said that there are 3 of them, Matrik Chand, Varnik Chand, and then we have Mukt Chand. So Mukt Chand is the one that I was talking about earlier also. It is the free form poetry. So it does not follow any sequence of ganas, Yagan, Tagan, Ragan, and so on. It number 1, so it is not Varnik it is not in the Varnik category, and it does not follow the count of the words also. For example, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1. So neither it is following any count, nor is it following any sequence. And therefore, it is Mukt. Mukt means free. You can write anything, and that is why I said that most of the poetry that is being written by poets today. Might be many of you also. Basically, it is in Mukt Chand. 2 reasons. Reason number 1, most of the people as on date do not have that time. So, I mean, before writing a poetry, you will not bother to first see, okay, whether I should write in Matrik Chand or Varnik Chand, or okay, if I am writing in Matrik Chand, should I use Radhika or should I use Rola, or should I use Chopai, or should I use Dodhak or Malini? And even if I choose one of them, then I need to have that strong vocabulary, because if I am framing a sentence and if I am not able to get that sequence, then I might be required to use a synonym of that word, so that my rhythm is maintained, my sequence is maintained, the Gana sequence is maintained, and the count is also maintained. Count more so for the Matrik Chand. So that is reason number 1 why I said that most of the people today are writing Mukt Chand. Reason number 1, and obviously shortage of time, lack of knowledge, obviously, and then reason number 2. See, if you ask this me, and if I have to answer this as a poet, I will say that, how do I write poetry at least? So there are some thoughts, there are some emotions, they come to your mind, and you simply, write it down. So that becomes a poetry. So that is reason number 2. You will not bother to first think about the grammar and then this and that. So, and if you do so, perhaps by that time your thoughts will be lost. They will fly away. So that is the third type, Mukt Chand. And if you go by the statistical values, I will say that Mukt Chand poetry is virtually maximum, and it is increasing, because as I said that most of the people are using this form because it is free form. In fact, there is no standard. So whatever you write, and if you say that this is a poem, it is categorized as part of Mukt Chand. So it is valid. And then at second number, or in fact, I will not include Mukt Chand, in fact, as any of the categories. Basically, the competition is between Matrik Chand and Varnik Chand only, not among these 3. So as far as the competition between these 2 is concerned, Matrik Chand is more commonly used by the poets compared to Varnik Chand. And the very simple reason behind this is the structure of meters and the requirement, the definition that needs to be fulfilled, the prosodic requirement. So that is where prosody comes into picture of the Varnik Chand, which is more difficult because you have to maintain that, first is Yagan, and then you have Tagan, and then you have Ragan, and then you have to make use of words in that way. Not only that, you have to make use of words that way, you have to also make sure, because you are writing a poetry, so you also have to make sure that this is a poem, and then you also have to make sure that the sequence of thoughts is maintained, and then you might be required to make sure that you are introducing the other poetic elements like the figures of speech, to make it more poetic. For example, Anuprasalankar, Yamakalankar, and others. So the point is to summarize that Matrik Chands are comparatively easy compared to Varnik Chand, and this will be quite evident when we move on to the next slide for further examples also. So this is one example from Doha, and Doha is an example of Matrik Chand, and I will explain you why this is Matrik. Okay. So the example that I have taken is Rahiman Dhaga Prem Ka. You might have, heard it. So I don't think that you will be hearing it for the first time. Rahiman Dhaga Prem Ka matlab uchitkaye, tute se na mile, mile gaat par jaye. Now I will also tell you the variations of it. Just imagine Rahiman Dhaga Prem Ka mat todo chitkaye. Ta. So I will write it as ta. Mat todo chitkaye. Or ta. Mat todo chitkai. And see, honestly speaking, for a person like me who is working in this area, I am very specific when I read this. Okay, whether it is ta, whether it is ta, but do we actually are conscious, and do we actually care about it? Do we actually ever bother about it? No. But from prosodic point of view, this makes difference. See, as far as Doha is concerned, obviously it is not going to make much difference here, because in any case, this is also counted as one, and this is also counted as one. But if at some point of time, if you are using choti e or badi e, then it makes the difference. Okay, so coming back to our example, Rahiman Dhaga Prem Ka, and this is the calculation. And let me tell you how I have done this calculation. So this is Ra without any diacritic mark. Okay, what is diacritic? Diacritic is like choti e, badi e, chota u, a, Chandra Bindu, and so on. So all of those are diacritics. So it is not having any diacritics, so it is counted as one. He. So if it is her, then it is counted as one. But this e matra is choti e. It is also counted as one. Therefore, again one more, no diacritic mark. So it is again one, no matra. Matra, see, don't get confused between matrik chand matra and the diacritic matra. Matra means quantity also in Hindi, and matra means these diacritic marks also. So that is again where NVP comes into picture. You have the same word which is having two meanings based on the context. Okay, so na is not having any diacritic mark. To make the things clear, I will be using the word diacritic mark. So when I say diacritic, you should understand it as e, u, a, o, and so on. Okay, and it is not just e, u or a. It is a, I, o. All of those diacritics are also included. So na is counted as one because it is not having any diacritic mark. Dha with a, it is counted as two because a is counted as two. So these are the rules. And okay, when I say rules, this is the reason why this approach is rule-based. This is the reason why this is computational linguistics. This is the, and for computational linguistics, the rules that I have used are from Prosody of Hindi. And this basically inherits from the symbolic approach, the rationalist school of thought. And then you have ga, so again a, so again two, prem, two, ma, one, ka, two. So this is the calculation for Rahiman Dhaga Prem Ka. And if you remember, when I was talking about the elements of a chand, I said that they are yati, gati, tuk, varn, matra, charan. So this is one charan. I mean, this part is one charan. This is the second charan of first line. So line one, charan two. Charan is also called pad, as I said earlier. So रहीमन धागा प्रेम का मत तोड़ो छिटकाए. Okay. म त one one. So O is counted as 2. O again is counted as 2. Choti E is counted as 1. T 1. Ka A is counted as 2. Y is counted as 1 because it is not having any diacritic mark. And see, now if you see, instead of T, even if we are using T, it is not going to make much difference here. Here it is not going to make much difference, and this is the reason why you might have seen that from different publication houses we have different versions. You might find it chitkai, you might find it chitkai, but this works as far as you do not have that difference of counting. Otherwise it will completely change its type, or it may even lead it to mukt type instead of being a being a doha. Okay, so this is the count for the second charan of line 1. So line 1, charan 2. Now we come to line 2, charan 1. रहीमन धागा प्रेम का मतलब छिटकाए टूटे से फिर ना जुड़े. So 2 is counted as 2. A is counted as 2. A is again counted as 2. Choti E counted as 1. R not having any diacritic mark. 1. A counted as 2. This U is counted as 1. See, this U is counted as 1. This U was counted as 2. A is counted as 2. And line 2, charan 2. So, रहीमन धागा प्रेम का मतलब छिटकाए line 1. टूटे से फिर ना जुड़े जुड़े कान पड़ जाए line 2. Charan 1, this one, charan 2, charan 3 and charan 4. जुड़े कान पड़ जाए. U, this U is counted as 1. A is 2. A is 2. In any case, it is Chandrabindu also. Th, no diacritic mark, 1. So I think it is clear. So per 1, 1, A and 2 and 1. Okay. Now the beauty of this concept is having done this much. Now if you see, if you count these values, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2. What it will give you is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So charan 1, let me see if I am able to change the ink color so that the things are more clear. Yes, I think it will be better. So for this it is, let me write it here. It is 13. Isn't it? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plus 2 is 13. Okay, for charan 1. For charan 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. For charan 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. And for charan 4, 3 plus 3, 6 plus 2, 8 plus 3, 11. That is why this is a doha. Because the rules of doha say that first charan should have 13, then it should be followed with 11, then it should be followed with 13, and then it should be followed with 11. So I really wonder whether ever before you had, bothered to see doha like this, in this way. So using this structure, using this prosodic structure, we had treated these poetries digitally to classify them. So computer algorithm was written by us, which will come to know based on these calculations, whether it is doha, whether it is radhika, whether it is malini, whether it is matrik chand, whether it is varnik chand, or whether it is muk chand. So this was one example for doha. And now you can also see that instead of, because this is a general concept of doha, it has nothing to do with this particular doha of Rahim and Dhaga Prem Ka Mat Ho Chitkaye. And now if you see that if instead of this choti e, if someone is using badi e, then the calculations will change, and then technically speaking, it will not be doha at all, technically. So this was one example. And this was example of matrik chand. Why matrik chand? Because we have considered the matra, the count, the quantity, 1311, 1311. Let me move to the next example, sortha. Sortha is another example of matrik chand itself. So again, it takes care of those quantity values, the matra. So this is one example. Kund indu samde So this is Charan 1 of line 1, and this is 2, this is 1, this is Bindi. Bindi is spoken as na or ma, so therefore it is counted as 2. Otherwise otherwise it would have been counted as 1. Then this is 1, sa, ma, 1, a, and this is her. Kun Indu Samde, Uma Raman Krunaitan. So now you can try also. 1, a, basically Ramana is a. Then u. Now you have some special cases also. You have some exceptional cases also. So, and sometimes in order to make sure that the rules are followed, a little bit of compromise is also done. Because if you have written a poem, you or let us say some poet has already written a poem of, let us say, 20 lines, and in one of the lines, in one of the charans, there is some issue with one matra, with one diacritic mark, then it can be allowed, because that is the only option. So then you have then you have Jahi Deen par ne. And see, from perspective of languages, instead of calling it Deen, you should call it Deen, because this is Badi. And see, tone means that from speech point of view also, that sound will stay longer. That is why it is two. Ja, see, e. Okay, Jahi, 2, 1. Now see, this is E, this is also E. This is shorter, so 1. This is longer, so 2, A. Karbu Kripa Mardan Mayan. 1, 1, 1. See, Kri. R in pair of, not R, Re, it is called Re also. Re in pair of K, it is counted as 1, A. Okay, now here if you see, there is again an exception, because this is mara. So the, na, ma, ya, na. And now if you take the total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is 3 and 3, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. And you might not be able to guess what will be coming next, but because I know the rules of Sota and Doha, so I know what is going to come next. But still, for your sake, I will do the calculation. So this is 3 plus 3, 6, plus 2, 8, plus 3, 11, and 3 plus 3, 6, plus 2, 8, 9, 10, and 10 and 3. So 13. And the rule goes something like this: your Sota is actually opposite of Doha. I don't know whether you knew about it earlier or not. Sota is actually opposite of Doha. In Doha, because both of them are matric chunks. So in Doha, you had 13, 11, 13, 11. And in Sota, you have 11, 13, 11, 13. So this was the example of Sota. And then I still have some time, so I can continue with this example. This is an example of Rola. नील अंबर परिधान हरित पट पर सुंदर है. So this is a bit longer sentence. So, and because we have already gone through 2 examples so far, so I have clubbed them together here. So E, A, and then you can consider this half ma, then paridhan. Actually, this is clubbed. So if you go in reverse, this is your na of paridhan. This is your a of dha. This is your re. This is your po. So it is something like this. This is the line of demarcation. So this is nilambar. This is e. This is a. This is, now see here, mo and ba are counted together, and then you have ra, and then you have ha, vi, ta, pa, ta, pa, ra, sun. In any case, this na can be written as bindi also. The, ra, sundar, hai. This is hai. So नीलांबर पैथान हाइट पट पर सुंदर है. सूर्य चंद्र युग मुकुट मेखला रत्नाकर है. And if you do the calculations, you will get 2 1 2 1 1 1 and so on. Now, if you do these calculations, you will find actually here also you can see. So su and ra here counted as one, and then this is cha, na can be written as bindi also. It will be counted as two, and then dra. So ra in foot of the it is counted as one. Okay, now if you do the calculations, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. For this, it is 11. And let me see if I am able to change the color again. Then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is 11, 13, 11, 13. And then you can continue with this example. This was just to demonstrate. This will be the calculation and then so on. So I am not doing it. So this was example of Rula, which is again a Matrik Chan. And then you have Indra Vajra, which is an example of Varnik Chan. And how is it Varnik and how is it different from Matrik Chan? Will be interesting to know. See, जो मैं नया ग्रंथ विलोकता हूँ is ओ मैं न या बिंदी, so two th विलोकता हूँ. So obviously I am not going it now character by character. भाता मुझे सो नव मित्र सा है, and then you have देखो उसे मैं निपसार वाला, and then you have मानो मिला मित्र मुझे पुराना. Now if you see here, you will find this sequence. See, Indra Vajra rule is do tagan ek jagan or do guru. So first of all, let us see if do guru rule is followed. See, do guru. Okay, guru is this or two, and laghu is this or one. So do guru 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. So this rule is followed, and then you have do tagan ek jagan. Now for that, okay, let me first take you to previous slide. Because you will need to know what is tagan, ragan, and so on. Okay, so for this we will be using tagan and jagan. So tagan is 2 to 1 and jagan is 1 to 1. So 2 to 1 and 1 to 1. Okay. Yes. See, 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1. And then you have 2 to 1 again. 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1. Because its rule says that it needs to have two tagans. And then it needs to have one jagan. So 1 to 1, 1 to 1, 1 to 1, 1 to 1. And then it needs to have two gurus. 2 2 2 2 2 2. Because it is following this sequence. Do tagan, ek jagan or do guru. Therefore, it is Varnik Chan. And the particular type is Indra Vajra. Now here if you see, we have focused on this sequence 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1 and 2 to 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to 2 and so on. Here we have not counted it actually. And actually technically if you count, because 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to 2, it is repeated in all four. So it will be the same for all four. So in that sense, one may say that it is a sort of Matrik Chan, but technically it will be incorrect because here we have this sequence. Now, similarly, if you see in the previous slide, let us say for Sota, see here you will not find any sequence. It is 2 1 2, here it is 1 to 1, here it is 2 1 2, here it is triple 1. And at end here we have 2 1 1 1 2 1 1 1, or if you have a look at last 4 1 1 2 1 2 triple 1 1 1 2 1, 4 times 1. So, so that particular sequence of gun is not maintained. That is the point. Okay. After that, this is another example. It is called Upendra Vajra, and it is also an example of Vanik Chand. For example, bada ki chota kuch kam कीजिए. I will not be going character by character, but this is 1, this is 2, this is 1, 2, 2. So this will be 1, 1, 2, 1. E is body E. So 2 and A. So see, I was saying that A also is 2, 2. Okay. बड़ा की छोटा कुछ काम कीजिए, परंतु पूर्वा पर सोच लीजिए, बिना विचारे यदि काम होगा, कभी ना अच्छा परिणाम होगा. Now, if you see, generally we are not focusing on its prosodic part. But here, if you see 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to. In Upendra Vajra, the rule is Jagan, Tagan, Jagan, and Do Guru. See, Do Guru, 2 to 2 to 2 to 2 to. And Jagan, Tagan, and Jagan. See, 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1. 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1. Now, is there an exception? 1 to 1, 2 to 1, no. 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1. It is still followed. The difference is here 1 to are in the same word, this one is different. Here 1 to 1 are in the same word because it is having two letters, B and R. Here Pa, Ra, Ta, 3 are there. And again 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1. So Jagan, Tagan, Jagan, Do Guru. This sequence is followed, and therefore it is Upendra Vajra, and therefore it is Varnik Chand. Now, see, the point that I want to emphasize here is the fact that, and that is why, in fact, I said earlier also that it is easy to write Mukt Chand, but it is a bit difficult if you have to make sure that these counts are maintained either for Varnik Chand or for the Matrik Chand. In fact, Varnik is more difficult compared to Matrik, because in Matrik, what you have to do is, now you will be in a better position to understand this, because in Matrik, what you have to do is, you just have to make sure that Charan wise, the count is maintained, the quantity is maintained, which is comparatively easy. It is difficult compared to Mukt, but still easier compared to Varnik. But in Varnik, you have to assure that the count is maintained as well as the sequence is maintained. So it becomes a bit more difficult. And just imagine the poets of the good old times, Rahim, Surdas, and Kabir, and all of those people actually used to follow these rules. And see, this rhythm is also there. Kaam hoga, parinam hoga. Kaam kijiye, soch lijiye. So there are two dimensions of this rhythm. Number one, it gives it a poetic effect, obviously, of course. And second, when you use this rhythm, lije, je, ki and li, kije, lije. So in a way, it will also assure that this 2 to 2 2 is fulfilled. Kije, lije, hoga, hoga. So in a way, it also assures, because when you have the same word, hoga, and here also hoga, it will give you rhythm also, and it will give you the same count also. And when count is same, basically you are working towards Matrik Chand. And if you are able to maintain the entire sequence, then you get it as Varnik Chand also. And this is one example of Mukt Chand. And this is also virtually the last slide of my presentation. So I have included this example just to give you a demo that this is one very famous poem by Suryakant Tripathi, who is also called Nirala. Vijan Val Vallari par Zoti thi Suhag Bhari Sneh Swapn Magna. Now, if you see, not only that matra are not maintained, not only that the sequence is not maintained, but this is quite evident from the first look itself. Why? Because here, see, the number of letters, even without any calculation also, we can see any poem and we can immediately say, Vajana, Vana, Valara, Para. And here, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, roughly 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it will be naturally difficult. And now here you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I have just counted the letters roughly. I have not counted the diacritic marks. So naturally, it will not lead to either Varnik or Matri, and therefore it is Mukchand. So this is one example from Suryakant Tripathi Nirala. And this entire concept of chants or the prosody concept is, as I said earlier also, it is not so that it is just applicable to Hindi. It is applicable to other languages also. And in English also we have the concept of sonnet, but you need to have 14 lines and then 8+6 format, and then you have then many more are there in fact. And in Greek also it is there. And the other thing is, see, it is not so that for Hindi only we have a trend towards Mukchand. For English also we have a trend towards sort of free form poetry, where you need not follow any number of rules, be it for the number of lines, be it for the number of stanzas, or be it for the number of characters. Most of the modern poets, what they do is they use one of the two free form formats. Both are free form. But in one of the formats, what they do is they just scribble down something. They just write down something, and then they say that this is a poetry. Why? Because you have sentence 1, sentence 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, and then it conveys something. There is some thought, and there is a flow of sub thoughts, sort of sub thoughts also in that entire broader theme. So that is one. And no rhythm is maintained. Rhythm in the sense rhyming words are not there at the end. And in the second case, something is written, it is in the free form only, but then rhythm is maintained. For example, night and plight and height, or fall and call. So even though it will not fulfill any criteria of any other categorization, but at least it will have that effect of rhyme. And in a way, I say that from completely free form, the example that I discussed earlier, type 1, to type 2, you are moving a bit closer to the more structured format of poetry. And slowly you may try to write a poetry which is not completely in the free form. And these are the bibliographic references and acknowledgements that I have used for this slide. I am done. If you have any questions, the platform is open. I have tried to design it in such a way that, typically it is said that if you have attended a session, there should be at least something that is your take home. There should be something fruitful. There should be something that has added to your value, something that you did not know before attending the session, and now something that you know additionally. So I believe that at least I have made it a conscious effort. So next time when you will be going through any Hindi poetry, even any movie song also, you will be a bit more conscious, okay, that this is making use of this thing, but this is making use of that thing. See, in a way, you are not just categorizing that poetry, but in a way, you are also appreciating the effort put by the poet. Just imagine the effort that a poet has to put to make sure that the quantity is maintained, and then to make sure that the sequence is maintained from matrik to varnik. So that was my intention. The floor is open for questions, if any. Thanks for your patience listening. Please, over to you.
Thank you, sir. This was such a fascinating and enlightening, lecture, about how you have told us about how digital technologies have informed the epistemology of Hindi prosody. You made it so lucid, starting from the language families to you spoke about, natural language processing and, the two parts of it as natural language generation and natural language understanding to, particularly explaining about the classification of chant. And I'm sure there are many questions. So there are few questions that are already there. I will, speak out. The first question is, are technologies like Apple Siri features and devices like Alexa instances of natural language understanding?
Excellent. I was expecting this question. See, you have to say it this way. What is being done? What is the technology used? And from my perspective, I will say that it is not NLU, because See, partially you cannot have that clear-cut line of demarcation, but partially yes and partially no. And I will justify why yes and why no. See, when I say something, basically it is sort of hard-coded in that device. It is in the dictionary of that algorithm. So basically what the machine is doing is, when I say, how are you? So basically it is making the comparison that, okay, how are you? Okay, if this sequence is there, then I have to do this. So that again leads me to the same concept. Should we call it true artificial intelligence? Actually, no, because it is not human behavior that it is actually doing. It is just simulating it. Instead of how are you, let us say if the algorithm and the dictionary which is fed to it is for the English language, and if I say it in Hindi, "Aap kaise ho?" it will not be able to understand. Then in that sense, it is not so. But yes, if we consider the dictionary approach, then the answer is yes. So I can justify it both ways. And the other thing is, let me also share it on the sidelines. As far as artificial intelligence is concerned, because basically be it Alexa, be it Siri from Apple, or be it Cortana from Microsoft, or be it any other product for that matter, all of them are all of them are making use of artificial intelligence. And there is a typical saying in artificial intelligence world and in NLP also. It says that something which has already been done by a machine, now it is no longer AI. So as far as Alexa and these things are concerned, it makes use of speech recognition also, because when you say how are you, basically it is recognizing your speech, and then it is making that comparison, but it is not having that intelligence. So I will say that it is, yes, natural language understanding, but it is pseudo NLU. It is not a true NLU, because it will, okay, uh, if I say that today I had a great day, and this was the reason because I was invited, for a presentation by a very reputed university, it will not be able to understand, and it will not give me that response. So virtually no. And then accordingly, we have that concept of weak AI and strong AI. So basically, this is an example of weak AI. So I think I was able to justify it both ways. For a general person, for a layman person, my answer will be yes, because it is actually understanding the natural language that someone is speaking. But from a person who is working in the area of NLP, who is working in the area of AI, answer will be no. I mean, why should we, satisfy ourselves just with this statement that, okay, it understood what we said. So from that perspective, I will say that no, it is not natural language understanding. We need to have something more. It is just simulating. It is actually not understanding. So I hope I was able to answer that question. But definitely, yes, it is NLP.
Right, sir. Okay, the next question is, does relevance theory figure in NLU, natural language understanding?
Sorry, I couldn't get it.
Does relevance theory figure in natural language understanding? This is by Sumita Sharma.
Sorry, which Karma?
Does relevance theory figure in natural language understanding?
No, let me be very honest. I will not bluff about it. I am not aware about that theory. So I am not in a position to answer it.
Okay, sir. The next question is Rohan is asking, it would be interesting to know your take on topic modeling in Hindi, Urdu, especially the tools for basic tasks like named entity recognition and POS. Also, he is asking, please talk about some of the most developed NLP libraries in existence for South Asian languages.
Okay. So basically, this question is having two parts. Number one,
right,
about the named entity recognition part. And see, as far as named entity recognition for Hindi, Urdu, and in fact many other languages are concerned, a lot of work has been done, and it is being done. But when it comes to natural languages, as I said, that then you have n number of challenges. So I will not say that this area is as mature and as established as it should have been. The concept, as far as the concept of topic modeling is concerned, specifically, it inherits from that transition period. As I said, that from symbolic we came to non-symbolic, and in non-symbolic we had two branches: statistical and then deep learning. So basically, this topic modeling fits in that non-symbolic part for the statistical application of algorithms. And when it comes to the statistical application of algorithms, basically what is happening is, and here, as far as my take is concerned, as Rohan said, I will go with the Chomskyan theory. So basically what we are doing is we are just dumping a lot of data on the machine, and then we are expecting a machine to find out the patterns, which, I mean, I should ask this question, do you believe that it is possible for a machine to analyze all the possible patterns, or for that matter, if it is with the topic modeling, to find out all the relevant topics, given the richness of the languages, given the multiple topics that we can use for the discourse? It is not at all possible. So that was to answer the first part. As far as this second part is concerned, I think it will not be appropriate for me to name any one particular tool, but or library. But yes, you have a lot of them from Stanford. You can visit their website, and then you have a lot of them in Python, and now you have a lot of them in, for example, Deep4j, which is from Java. A lot of them are available in Java also. In fact, sometimes I feel jealous, if at all I may use that term, because when I was working for my PhD in area of NLP in the year 2005, all of these tools were not there. So, I had to literally design each and every algorithm by myself. And now all of these things are available ready-made. But to summarize, yes, a lot of ready-made tools are available. You just need to explore them, and not only explore them, the more you get acquainted with those tools, the more functionalities you will be able to use, and they will be of more productive and fruitful use to you, instead of reinventing the wheel. So my suggestion will be not to reinvent the wheel. Just think it this way, and this is what I tell to my PhD students also. I don't know the level of Rohan, PG, UG, PhD, postdoctorate, but in general, this is something that I tell to my PhD students also. If you can think of something, okay, that I will do it this way, or I will do it, or this is what I will do, then before you start actually doing it, think that if you can think, then someone else in some part of the world can also think about it. So it is quite probable that what you are doing and what you are intending to do and what you will be doing is already done. So that is typically part which goes with the literature review also, before someone begins with the research work. So I hope I was able to answer Rohan's question.
Yes, sir. There's another question.
Rohan has raised his hand.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, yeah.
I was by mistake. Actually, I've written it in the chat box. So if sir can respond to that, that would be fine. I think the hand raising was by mistake. Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, I was not monitoring the chat box. Now let me go through it. Oh, okay, there is a lot of it. This session also is going to be really interesting and enlightening. Hello everyone, please feel free to put your questions. Technologies, Siri. So Siri and Alexa is what you asked. I am also interested in AI chatbot services. Online customer care is a common example. I suppose NLP plays quite a heavy role in these apps. Now, as far as AI chatbots is concerned, you should not say that NLP plays a heavy role in that. It is not a heavy role of NLP. It is purely NLP. It is absolutely NLP only, as far as the AI chat boxes are concerned. And these services have a story path, and the user has to often respond in a certain way to continue the conversation. Okay, so basically that deals with, I still have some 5-10 minutes, that typically goes with the famous imitation experiment of Alan Turing that I was also referencing in my discussion. So what he did was, and that happened in the 50s. So what he did was, there was one room in which a computer was there was another room, a human being was sitting there, and they were communicating using text media only, and then they had wall in between. So I mean, they were not able to see each other. And then there was third person, a judge, and the judge was not able to see which room is having computer and which room is having a human being. And based on the text conversation with these two entities, one human being and the other one computer, the judge was supposed to identify which one is a human being and which one is computer. Now, if you see this from a general perspective, obviously you can do it. Because if you ask some questions like what is your age and what is your gender, obviously what will be the computer's gender? So in that sense, you can identify it. But technically speaking, if your computer is smart enough, or if your computer is behaving in a way that it is making sure that no one is able to identify whether I am a computer or a human being, then it goes with artificial intelligence. and then we say that the test is successful. But then there was another experiment. It was the experiment performed by a person called John Searle, Searle, John Searle. It's called the Chinese room experiment. So what he said was that no, this Turing experiment cannot be believed to be the experiment of true artificial intelligence, because basically, and this is what I said when I was talking about that question on Alexa and Siri also, because basically what is happening is you have some pre-hard-coded rules in the dictionary that if this is the question, and then you have to answer it this way. And if you're not able to understand anything, as is happening with many chat boxes, then you can simply say, please rephrase your question. I am not able to understand it, and so on and so forth. So he said that no, it is not artificial intelligence. It is just a simulation. There is not understanding of the language. So the same thing is true for these AI chat boxes also. Does relevance theory figure in NLU? I said that now I am not a computer, and I will not behave like a computer, and I don't think that computer will be honest enough. So I am not sure about the relevance theory, but it is a good input. I will go through it. It would be interesting to know your take on topic modeling. Okay, this is what we discussed. Please talk more about some of the most developed NLP libraries. Okay. You can go for Python libraries, you can go for NLTK, and then there are many other tools also, not just the libraries. You can go to GitHub and you will find a lot of references. Would it be possible to identify whether a poem is auto-generated or not using techniques similar to those used for determining authenticity of authorship? This is a question by Miss Sumita, Miss or Mr. I don't know, Sumita Sharma. But my answer is yes. It is possible to identify whether a poem is auto-generated or not. The logic is very simple. The rationale remains the same. If a human being can design an algorithm that can generate some text, then the same human beings can also design an algorithm to find whether this generated text is real or not. Because both of the algorithms are written by human beings only. So basically, you have to understand the psychology of human beings. What was it that was done to generate this text? And then you have to do the reverse. So answer is yes. But when I say yes, we need to take it with a pinch of salt, because the accuracy rate may not be 100%. Because, on one side, there will be researchers, though this is sort of a negative research, but on one side, there will be a group of researchers who will make sure, and they will keep on tweaking their algorithm, they will keep on fine-tuning it to make sure that your algorithm, which is trying to identify whether it is artificially generated or not, so they will make sure that you are not able to do so. So on the other side, you will also have to put equal efforts to make sure that you are able to identify whether it is auto-generated or not. But technically, yes, it is possible. This has been very enlightening. Thank you. Thank you for this demonstration. Much appreciated. Thank you. You cleared several doubts. Okay. Thank you. Is there any program you have written for this? Yes. Because without writing any program, this would not have been possible. In fact, why just a program? I should say it is a full-fledged tool in itself. And what I have discussed is just a part of it. Otherwise, it has many other functionalities also. And as I said earlier also, today I have discussed about the structure, the sort of classification of poetry, and that too Hindi poetry from point of view of structure. Tomorrow, I have another session. Thanks to the organizers for giving me second opportunity also. But tomorrow I will be talking about the classification of poetry based on the themes, the topics, not just the structure as we did today. And also based on the sentiments in a poetry. So that I will be talking about tomorrow. Is there any program you have written for this? Yes. I am interested in exploring this further, especially how the counting is abstracted into an algorithm. Oh, it is very simple, because you simply have those if-else rules. So basically, you have a poem. You need to follow an approach called tokenization. So you tokenize means you have parts. So tokens does not necessarily from NLP perspective mean a word. So you have a poem, you have stanzas. For stanzas, you have lines. For lines, you have charan, which is 1/4. For charan, you have words. For words, you have characters, and each character may be having a diacritic mark. And then you need to use those if-else rules, and then you need to use the calculation. It is as simple as that. Interesting session. Could you please show bibliography? Okay, I will show it again. Or what you can do is you can just search on Google and write down Saini and Aditya. He's another person with whom I have worked. In fact, that was, I think, the paper which was quite instrumental and motivating for Professor Nishat, who contacted me a few months back. And so you can search on Google with my name. You will find many papers and many languages. I have worked in English, I have worked in Multani, Tamil, Burmese, English obviously, and so on, Hindi, Gujarati, Sanskrit, Punjabi, and so on. Please talk a bit more about why there is a general shift towards free verse poetry, any seminal study in the sense scholarship investigating this particular trend. Okay, so statistically speaking, I do not have that count, that whether my claim is correct or not, but this is my feeling. And in fact, it could be one mini research area for someone who is willing to work in this direction to, statistically find out and prove it that this hypothesis is correct. But this is, as I said earlier also, that this is my feeling that because writing poetry using those rules, particularly, for example, for Hindi poetry, making sure that this yagan tagan, this sequence is followed, and for Varnik Chand or for Matrik Chand, the count is followed. It is a bit more difficult. It is a bit more demanding. It is a bit more challenging. It is a bit more time consuming. So with that logic, I am saying that the count should be less for those type of poetries. But definitely it can be investigated. So this is my feeling that it is a general shift. And I will be happy if someone is able to disprove it. But that will be, input for me also. But till it is disproved, I will hold on my stand. Okay, and no, I don't think it is, but as a student of poetry studies, I am interested in testing some of my close reading hypotheses on a scale which I presently can't. So therefore, I asked about NLP libraries. Rohan, as I said earlier also, you need to, I think he had written it before I answered because it is 12:42. Okay, so that is already answered. Any more questions, please?
If anyone has a question, please go ahead and ask.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, please go ahead, Rohan.
Rohan, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sir, have you made the code for your tool available on GitHub or elsewhere so that I can take a look?
No, not yet. No, not yet, because I have signed non-disclosure agreements, and this work is part of,
Thank you.
this work is part of my associations with many organizations, government as well as non-government. So till I get a green signal from them, it will not be appropriate for me to provide it publicly. But yes, definitely I will be happy to do so if ever I am able to do so. Because see, there is no meaning in just doing on research and then just bury it in the graves. Research is helpful only if it is used for the society. But then those sponsoring agencies, they have, so let us not go into details, Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I say something? I'm Sumita Sharma. I asked you the question about relevance theory. Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that, because you mentioned pragmatics and you were giving the, that they're telling that joke about, going and checking whether someone's shoes are in the hotel room. A lot of meaning in any communicative event actually emerges from the context and the inferences which someone makes, right? And, and relevance theory is actually this, it's been developed within the field of pragmatics by Dan Sperber and Deirdre Wilson. So basically they speak of the principle of relevance, how relevant a certain, utterance is for someone and what implicatures they derive from it and so on. So I was just wondering that, since NLP is so very technical, right? And NLU is basically so very technical and, whatever it is that the words mean is what would point towards the meaning. So is there any effort being made to bring in other kinds of understanding, such as from relevance theory? Because how would one be able to determine meaning from an utterance which does not fully articulate what is intended? So that was my question.
Okay, I got your point. सबसे पहले तो मुझे तुलसीदास जी का एक सेंटेंस याद आ गया जिसमें उन्होंने कहा हुआ है कि किसी भी कन्वर्सेशन का, किसी भी डिस्कशन का, किसी भी वार्तालाप का मजा तब आता है जब श्रोता और वक्ता दोनों ही उसमें डीपली इंटरेस्टेड हों. And your questions have basically proved that statement. So I'm very happy with your questions. And basically, it is an evidence that at least you were listening to what I was discussing. Number one. Number two, coming to the relevance theory, as I said earlier also, I am not very, very specific and I am not very sure about that specific concept of relevance theory. Might be because it is not, studied in that detail as far as the technological area is concerned. For example, graduation, post-graduation, doctorate, post-doctorate, and all of these experiences in the domain of computer science and engineering. So it has nothing to do with the languages. So that might be the reason why I was not sure about it. Number two. Number three, now that I have come to know of that term, of that phrase, definitely I will go in detail and I will, try to enrich my knowledge also as far as this area is concerned. Number three. Number four, if I have to answer your question because you talked about context. So as far as context is concerned and as far as NLP is concerned, be it irrespective of relevance theory, be it irrespective of pragmatics, be it irrespective of discourse analysis, be it irrespective of anything else, yes, context is something that has been very well taken care of in the area of NLP. I mean, without context, I would not have even talked about pragmatics and discourse. So that itself is evidence that context has been taken care of. Additionally, we have something called word to vec. So there it is possible where it is using a contiguous bag of word model and skip drum model. So where if you give it one word, then based on the context, it will be able to predict the other surrounding words in the window. And then there are many researchers who have completed their PhD under my guidance, where without using the concept of context, it would not have been possible to do it. Including the translation of idioms, for example. One of my research scholars, what happens, okay, let me put it more clearly. So you have something called translate.google.com. It is a service which is provided by a very well-known organization called Google. So when you translate something and if you use simple text, okay, it will translate it quite well. But if you use idioms, then sometimes it is not translating it properly. It is giving the transliterated version. Sometimes it is giving very offensive meanings also because there are many idioms whose meaning is contextual. For example, okay, let me take one example of aankh dikhana. Now, aankh dikhana could have two meanings. One is literally go to ophthalmologist and show your eyes because you have some infection, for example, or you have got some number for specs. So that is one meaning, aankh dikhana. And second meaning is aankh dikhana matlab gussa karna. So when it comes to even those established and mature applications, even by companies like Google, they are not working that well. So those are the cases where context comes into picture. So when I was working on translation of idioms, definitely we made use of the context, and it worked quite well also. So if you were asking in the sense that whether context is used or not in NLP, then my answer is yes. Without context, I mean, we cannot even think of NLP. And in fact, we are waiting for the day when the machine will be actually able to understand the context completely. Because that will be the day when we will be actually achieving that strong sort of artificial intelligence that I was referring to earlier also, from weak AI to strong AI. Because that will be the point where it is not just simulating, it is not just going by those if-else rules. If it knows the context, it understands. So from simulation, if it moves to understanding, then it will be true artificial intelligence, and it will be going a long way in answering the queries, be it chat box system, be it question answering system, or be it having conversation with the Alexa or Cortana or Siri and others. I hope it answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this fascinating lecture, just taking us from the historical, the language families and bringing us to the classifications of different kinds of Hindi prosody. Thank you so much. And the interface that you brought in with digital technologies, just all those algorithms and so on. It was wonderful to listen to you. Thank you so much. Over to you, Zara. And Asra?
Yeah, thank you, Indrani. Thank you, Professor Saini, for this enlightening session. And if those who are comfortable with switching on their cameras, please do, so that we can take some screenshots. Thank you, everyone, and see you at 3 p.m. for Dr. Shovik Mukherjee's session today, and then in the evening, of course, 6:30.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity, and I invite you all to again join for another session by me tomorrow, where I will be talking from the perspective of semantics and the themes and the concept of Navrasa for a classification of Punjabi poetry using the concept of artificial intelligence. And
Dr. Saini, yes.
I have always heard, and I have always observed and always felt also that if your audience is able to understand what you say, then you will always have a lot of questions. Otherwise, what happens is just your session started at 11 and it ended at 1. And if you ask, do you have any questions? Everyone says no, because you are not able to understand anything. So I believe that if you have these many questions, you are able to understand. And I was able to make